think it's first important to understand that human nature is a balance. We do have the awareness of problems and things that are wrong, but we also have the capacity to see beauty. We have the capacity to see potential and what's working. And what has happened is that our habits have focused on the problems. We have learned when we went to school to be a good critic, and that's how we were taught to think. We have learned to find the problem so we could fix it, and we could get credit for doing a good job by fixing something. And so what appreciative inquiry is asking is not to go against human nature. Human nature is both. Human nature is everything. But it's asking us to change our habits, to change what we have learned, to change what we have done for many, many years, and to focus on some new things to create new possibilities in our world.
On what level can you work? So you have to start on the individual level and go to the organizations and maybe governments, or what is the way to try to break that cycle of negative thinking?
Appreciative inquiry is a process for large-scale transformation. And when I say large-scale, I mean 200 people in the room, 500 people in the room. And so we have an assumption that people are smart, they're talented, they're gifted, and when we bring them together, when we bring people from all different functions and all different walks of life and all different levels of an organization together, and they're given the opportunity to share stories of their strengths and to share their dreams for the future, they can create a better way of organizing, a better way of doing work, a better way of living. And so appreciative inquiry is a large-scale process. And what happens is people change in the course of doing appreciative inquiry, but that's not our focus. Many of the old models of organization development have said focus on people, change people, and then they will change organizations. Appreciative inquiry says, believe in people, bring them together in dialogue, and they will change organizations.
Can you give us an example of a project that describes best the power of this method?
Well, I think one project that is very dear to my heart. A number of years ago, I was asked to work with a state in the United States, a state educational system. And they were concerned about services for students who are deaf and students who are blind. And they had a school, they have a school for students, and there was some question about whether the school should continue. And you can imagine that the parents who have put their children in this school want the school to continue. The teachers want to continue, the students. But then there were people who thought, oh, it's too expensive, we should close it. So there was a lot of controversy. And they decided to use appreciative inquiry and to host what we call an appreciative inquiry summit. So we brought 250 people together. And we had all of the stakeholders. We had representatives from the governor's office. We had members of the State Department of Education. We had people on the various advisory boards for the school. We had the faculty. We had the teachers. We had parents. We have students who were deaf, students who were blind. We had adults who were deaf and blind. We had educators. We had the different advocacy groups that thought they had the right answer. So everyone had an opinion. We had 250 people that represented the entire community. So they came together for 3 days. And during that 3-day period of time, they first talked about what did they experience with the strengths of this school and the strengths of their services for students who are deaf and blind. And then together they envisioned a future. What were the kinds of things that would make their services even better? And then we had to ask the question, if we design these services, should there be a school? And everyone in the room, 250 people, voted yes. We certainly have the question of speed. The world is changing quickly and it's highly diverse. So we need methodologies that can help us accelerate our own changes. And appreciative inquiry, by bringing everyone together, does speed up the transformation. And it also really answers the question of diversity, because we're always inviting people to speak to others that they don't know, because that's where the change occurs. The question of change is an interesting one, because we as OD professionals really think we're supposed to change things. And what I want to suggest is something coming out of the work of Umberto Maturana, when he says that our job is to preserve what we care about and let everything else change.
So is it value things, basic value things?
Basic values, ways of doing things, whatever it is that we care about, we have to understand that we must preserve it. We must continue it. We must give life to it and nurture it. And so what appreciative inquiry does, it says, tell me about a time when you've been at your best. Tell me about a time when your team has worked well, when your organization has achieved its most outstanding goals. And from that, we learn our strengths. We learn our high performance patterns. We learn what we want to preserve. And once we get a sense of that, we can then do it in a number of different ways. We can innovate, but it's very hard to innovate when you don't know your strengths. Once you know who you are, you can innovate in many different ways, and you have flexibility. So there's a paradox in that, but I think it's one that's a very important one to understand.
What does it mean to you personally that in a conference like this, it's not only an international conference, but it brings together people of different fields, more than 30 countries, and different international organizations of the OD profession?
Right. What does it mean to me to be at this conference?
Yes, why is it important, or why?
Oh, this conference is so much like a microcosm of the world, and that what we are all facing is learning how to relate to each other, to share our ideas in ways that are meaningful, and to create together with people who are different than we are. The idea of differences, the idea of diversity is so much at the core. And so a conference like this, where people are coming together from all over the world, from, as you said, different functions, different areas, gives us a chance to learn from each other, to really begin to understand other cultures, and to co-create together. That opportunity to not just present my own ideas, but to be part of a community presenting ideas that have some overlap and some differences, that was, I think, extraordinary.
Is there a common root in there?
I don't know that there's a common root, but there's a common cause. And that, to me, is more important. We all may come from different directions and different methodologies, but we all care about helping organizations be more humanly effective, and at the same time being better businesses and serving society better. So the common message was, we care about the societies we live in and the organizations that serve those societies and the people. And we come at it from different directions, but that's what's exciting.